Hey, it's Andrew Huang. It's been years since I did a studio tour, so I figured it was about time. This is where I do most of my work, and it's also where I do most of my fun. In my last tour video, I talked about how the room is constructed, so check that out if you're interested. I'm not gonna go over it all again, but I did wanna start this video by addressing some of the stuff that came up last time. The first is that a lot of people thought I didn't have any sound panels, when the truth is I have sound panels that are almost the size of some walls. In every corner, we've got bass traps going floor to ceiling. Another thing that came up is whether I actually make music with all this stuff or if I'm just a gear collector, to which I say, are you f***ing kidding me? I have one of the biggest discographies out there. I'm releasing constantly as an artist. It's not hard to find, and in addition to that, I also get hired for a lot of cool projects like this piece for Blue Man Group, this Volvo commercial, I scored this science show. A lot of music is getting made, but I do acknowledge that it's a lot of gear and a lot of it is unnecessary. But I think it's also worth saying that this is a reflection of a broader obsession with music. The rest of it is all in the computer. All this music I've saved that I want to listen to, hundreds of songs that I'm working on. I have documents full of ideas like lyrics and production techniques and things that I want to patch on the modular synth. I have made almost 900 YouTube videos sharing about my process and techniques and tools. So yes, you're seeing a guy who's obsessed with gear because you're seeing a guy who's obsessed with every aspect of music. The gear is just the part that takes up space in my room. One of the biggest changes you'll notice since the last tour is that I've decided to add some color, by which I mean one color. I used to really like everything being all white, no distractions, reminded me of an art gallery, although most of the comments said it was like an office or a serial killer's house. But I started liking pink a lot in recent years and just added more pink stuff. And then I guess other people started really liking pink as well because more and more gear was coming out that was pink. So it's a thing now. Let's start from the main workstation. The desk is from Buso Audio. It's my absolute dream desk. It's got rack space, it's got cable troughs, it's got a sliding keyboard tray, it's sit stand, it's super sturdy, and it's just a nice, clean, minimal aesthetic. The racks on either side are also from Buso Audio, and I love them as well. I got one at each angle. They're on casters, so that's really nice. There's a fair amount of rack gear, so I'll just highlight a few things. Firstly, everything is running through this Flock Audio patch system. This is an analog patch bay with digital control, so I'm using a software application where I can basically drag and drop whatever hardware I want to use, and it handles all the routing for me rather than me having to patch any cables. I really love it. It lets me experiment so fast with signal flow, and as well I can save different templates for settings that I go to often. Pioneer RT707. Sometimes it's fun to record to tape for that subtle difference it makes to the sound. On top of it, I've got all these different flavor reverb pedals, and these are looped into my mixer, so while I'm recording vocals, I can dial in my vocal reverb by hand instead of having to mess around in software. I just find while tracking, the less I have to be on the computer, the better. But also it allows me to record the wet verb as its own signal, and then I can mess with that in the DAW. I did a video on this process recently if you want to check it out. I've got a pink Pultec EQ recreation from Audioscape. It's stereo, which is a nice improvement over the original. I've used Universal Audio's Pultec plugin for most of my career, and I was always on the fence about whether I'd ever get the hardware, but number one, they made a pink one. Number two, the profit went to breast cancer research, so I was like, yeah, I can pull the trigger on that. Also in here is Korg's Pitch Black Pro tuner. Such a luxury to be able to tune a guitar with this beautiful big visualizer. It's nice that it's always set up here and ready to go, and again, through the Flock system, I can just patch whatever I'm wanting to tune to it. And then just a smattering of classic compressors. I did a project with Universal Audio once, and I was too expensive for them, so they asked if they could offset my fee with gear. They sent me an 1176 and an LA2A, and I was like, hell yeah. I will get paid in analog compressors anytime. Universal Audio also gifted me this custom pink Apollo X8P. This was my main interface for many years, and I've still got it hooked up for the DSP that it provides, Universal Audio plugins, but my main interface now is actually the SSL Big 6. I don't actually use it much for mixing, but I've really been enjoying tracking with a much more hands-on workflow. Just everything goes much faster and smoother now when I'm recording. Also on my desk, we've got the Melbourne Rota control for easy hands on plugin tweaking. And then to the side, I have whatever groove box I'm currently messing with. Right now it's the Analog Rhythm. I also have two plasma racks in the desk rack space, so I can get some gnarly stereo distortion, but also they're kind of just fun to use as visualizers. In the other side rack, I've got some Euro rack and this custom effects box that I've done a video on before, and I'll link that in the description. And then there's some more outboard over in the corner. All of this is also connected through the flock patch system, and then on top here, we've also got the synth station. Currently in here, I've got the Polybrute 12, Osmo 61, and this discontinued Waldorf controller that lets you load in a bunch of Eurorack modules. And they're all going to this Franklin SS6 switcher, which is really convenient if you have more instruments than inputs. I have a lot of synths, so I've got a bunch in storage, and then I just kind of like seasonally rotate them out. They all provide different flavors of fun, but at the end of the day, you can make music with any of them. More stuff with the desk. On the sliding keyboard tray, I've got a Rolly MIDI controller, and I've got some guitar pedals that I like to run Ableton stuff through. I swap these out sometimes. And then just little bins of things I like to access quickly, but that can be tucked away easily because they're on the sliding tray. And I think last stuff for the desk area is all up here. Genelec monitors that I've used and loved forever. My computer is the first generation Mac Studio M1 Max, still holding up great. Got the little doggy SD card holder. Actually, it's a jewelry holder, but SD cards are the new jewelry. And my pink sand hourglass, which does go for literally 1 hour. You know what? I'm actually gonna show you behind the desk because we've been going hard on the cable management. And by we, I mean my assistant Ryan. He's done a great job. It is way cleaner than it has any right to be back here. Considering the sheer amount we're actually dealing with, it is actually sparse back here. Things are snaked, all the big coiled piles are in these boxes to contain them. Like, let me just open one of these up and show you. I've also pulled my desk out like a meter from the wall, and so that just makes accessing anything back here much easier. That is a wonderful luxury to have the space for that. Let's work our way around the room. We've got the top-down station. This is also where I allow myself the most mess. It's gotta go somewhere, and you never see this part of the room on camera. And underneath it is all the gear that I've been sent that I'm not allowed to show you yet. I do a lot of demo videos for companies, and as well sometimes give feedback on prototypes and things like that. This is a little more than there usually is, but yeah, it's always positive stuff under here. I've got this storage unit in the corner, but this is boring storage. What I really want to show you is the exciting storage. These are two massive IKEA cabinets that I got. One, because they're massive, but two, because you can customize them with sliders. So you can put in normal drawers if you want, but then there are these sliders. And this is the best way I've ever found to store music gear, because you can space them as far as you want, and for me that's as close as possible together. And then you have this room for all these devices that need to lie flat. There's inserts for keeping small things organized, using another jewelry holder thing here. It is the cabinet of my dreams, and I realize that's super nerdy, but the more different stuff that I do, the more I have come to appreciate organization. I've got each shelf labeled, so I actually track where all my stuff is with a spreadsheet. It's a great way to store gear, but it is almost full, and so I've made a promise to myself, which is that once I can no longer fit any more gear in the cabinet, I'm still allowed to get more gear. I also got to talk about the handles that are on here. I just found these online. They're from a couple different places, but I think they match pretty well.
One day the studio will be mine.
Moving around the room, we've got this live instrument area, drums, Rhodes, my Versa Orbit. I've done a video on this weird guitar before. A couple tape echoes. These are also patched into the flock. And my newest guitar is this Bourgeois Blues, one of the most beautiful things I've ever played. Synth Zone, small modular, which I know is actually pretty big. Big modular, which is enormous. On top of here right now, I've got the Solar 42 because I just finished making an experimental album with it, but bonus that it's pink for this video. The big synth is also routed into my flock patch system. I'm using this pair of drawer analog modules so I can go in and out with XLR, which is really nice. And I just get a kick out of the fact that I can use any of this sound and processing in my computer workflow if I want and just drag this around like it's a plugin. Above the synth, what can I say? There's more gear. I put all of my small pink devices in a row here because I was kind of trying to drive home the pink theme in another spot. And at first after doing that, I was kind of like, oh, am I just emphasizing what I want it to look like rather than actually being organized? But then I realized this actually is very organized. It's where all my small pink devices are. The big modular really deserves its own video, and I will get around to that soon. subscribe. And underneath the big synth, we've got more gear. This is just a little pedal setup that I like to mangle stuff coming out of my DAW with. It's also tied into the flock patch system, and it's just really fun for me to be hands-on. That's what all of this is about. Sound-wise, you can do so much in software, even in free software. Having all of this gear is really about the fun and the workflow. And I know that a guy with a lot of gear is the last person that you want to hear saying this, but it is not about the gear. It's about how you use whatever you have to express something cool or unique. You know, the first half of my career was done with the most basic setup, but I was just hustling and getting things done and finding creative workarounds. One of the things that comes up often with videos like this is people wonder how I can afford all this. And you know, I'm in an incredibly privileged position where not only am I a very visible musician, so companies want to send me stuff, but I have been able to spend a lot of disposable income on gear. I've been making money doing music for over 20 years, like my entire adult life. This has been my job, and it's taken lots of different forms, like recording for other people, performing and touring, teaching, commissions. I've made some products. There's one right here. And not to mention, of course, the music. I do okay. Got a respectable audience on streaming. I do surprisingly well on satellite radio for some reason. I'm not sure how that's happening, but I get nice royalty checks there. So yeah, there's a lot of gear that I get just to have fun because that's one of my favorite things in life, and I am in a fortunate position to be able to do that. But also, this is my job, and there's so much of this gear that I use for my work, and it makes me more money. And I don't have to do it this way, but again, I'm just the guy that's obsessed with all things music. Like, I get stoked to make music with just carrots or balloons or pants. So how much more do you think I'm losing my mind when I have a guitar pedal or a groove box? It's really just kid in a candy shop over here, and I try to convey that energy in my work, you know? Beyond trying to make a living or building a brand or even, you know, educational stuff, learning, trying to be the best you can be at music, the number one thing about music is the thing that all of us can have with it, and that is the fun. I'll see you in the next one.